All right, welcome everyone to Phoenixville Library, those of you in the community room and those of you on Zoom, to our presentation tonight from Mike Miles, who is the Outreach and Education Director for the Hearing Loss Association of America, Chester County. His presentation tonight is Better Living with Hearing Loss. Mike, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. Again, I'm Mike Miles, and then Steve Schugerts, the president of our hearing loss organization chapter. I don't remember which direction I go.
Down to go forward.
Yep. So we're part of what's called the Hearing Loss Association of America. HLAA is what we go by. It is the pretty much the leading voice in America. It's a U.S.-based for people with or at risk of hearing loss, based out of Maryland, near Washington, D.C. Other than the 12 people that work in the national office, the rest of us throughout the country are all volunteers. And our goal, our mission, is basically to raise awareness, break down any stigma, and empower everybody with advocacy, education, and we have a network of support, over 100 chapters and groups throughout the country like ours, all staffed by volunteers. Just a little disclaimer, I'll be talking about some products and things. HLAA does not endorse these products. These are, the opinions are given or based on our own experiences, such as I'll talk about this microphone here and some other things. It's based on our experiences and research, but there's others out there in addition to what we talk about. And we are not audiologists, Steve and I. We are, like many of you, people online as well, with varying levels of hearing loss, who have found different ways to connect and live well. Everybody's got to find their own little toolbox, as we call it, to live with this invisible disability that a lot of times people don't even know we have. I obviously have a big one sitting out here that people can see, but a lot of women might have hearing aids, but people don't know that, and they start making assumptions about you, which is why we call this an invisible disability, unlike somebody who was in a wheelchair or if they were, whatever. Most other disabilities you can sometimes tell. So hearing loss, as we like to say, is a ongoing journey. Mine started 25 years ago, working in the business world, flying high, having a great time, and then just started noticing some changes, and within a couple years found out I had a rare disease, which I'll talk about later. Our chapter is your local resource, and we're here to help, whether it's a phone call, an email, a text. Anytime somebody has a question on something, whether it's something we talked about tonight or a friend comes to you and you want to point them to us, feel free. Steve and I man the email system, and he mans the phone. And we get back to people typically within a day or so, if assuming we're around. So it's not just a physical condition, hearing loss. It's really a communication disability, and it requires accommodations just like most other disabilities require. It really affects how you relate to people. So you want to address that as soon as possible, and we do it through what we call the toolbox. We're going to talk about understanding the signs of hearing loss, the impacts of untreated hearing loss, and then how you can build this toolbox for you personally, what things make the most sense for your particular level of hearing loss. It's very common. People don't realize it because so many people hide it. Over 50 million Americans have some degree of hearing loss, and worldwide 460 million. That comes from WHO, the World Hearing Organization. So you're not alone if you have it. and want to address it. 1 in 5 Americans have some level. At age 65 and up, gets to be 1 out of 3 have some level, and 75, it's half. And some of that is just age-related. Others, it's other things that we're going to talk about that can cause that hearing loss. The number one takeaway from tonight, if you take away nothing else, is do not delay if you really think maybe you're experiencing some of the things I'm going to talk about. Unfortunately, 7 to 10 years is the average that people wait to address it and maybe get their hearing tested and get the hearing loss. They don't want to admit it. But the more you do that, the more damage that can be caused. The longer you delay, the longer and the more you're depriving your brain of the necessary stimulation by hearing things. The expression use it or lose it, I'm talking about your brain. And you really want to keep feeding your brain sounds and voices to keep it stimulated, as we'll talk about why in a second. This is a term called neuroplasticity. It's the capacity for your brain to change, and wearing hearing aids is going to be the first step to re-stimulating your brain if you've been without that hearing for a long period of time. If you don't treat it, untreated hearing loss can lead to a lot of negatives. Usually it starts with social isolation. You start avoiding going out with people and doing things because they don't understand you and understand what that hearing loss is doing to you. It leads to then depression and loneliness, the longer that lasts. It can also lead to falls and balance problems because the balance nerve is right near the hearing nerve. And then you eventually cognitive decline and dementia. They have, after a lot of years of studying, they now show that the longer it's untreated, the higher risk of dementia coming in sooner. However, treated hearing loss reverses all of that. Gives you better relationships, gives you feel more confident. You're not saying huh and what as often. It improves your self-esteem. You'll socialize more. You'll have greater independence, not have to worry about not hearing a siren or an alarm or something. It improves your mental health. You're less anxious all the time. And then increased security. A lot of people don't think about that with hearing loss. When mine first started going on me driving in the car, my wife would sit there and say, "Why don't you pull over? Don't you hear that?" I go, "No." And I didn't hear the siren that was maybe 10 cars back behind us. So security can be a big deal as well if you're not using the hearing aids and some of the assistive listening devices that we will talk about. We already talked about this. It's invisible. So let's talk about some of the signs that you could have a measurable level of hearing loss. There's a lot of levels. There's mild, which you might not even notice it yet. It might be really hard to notice it. Moderate, and then severe, and then profound, like I have in this year where I went deaf and got implanted with a cochlear implant about a year ago. So some of those signs, you have difficulty communicating with family and friends. You have difficulty, especially soft-spoken people, I'll have to add that, and accents, they're the worst for us at first. Using phones, you find that maybe you're not hearing as well on the phone when you hold it up to your ear. Understanding the TV, and missing alerts at different security issues such as the doorbell or the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. You say this a lot, huh? What'd you say? Could you repeat that? Never mind, never mind. And it gets very frustrating, not just for you, but for your spouse or partner or whoever else that you're living with if this is going on. And they're usually the first ones that notice it, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that they think you might have it. So other signs, you can tell someone's talking to you, but you can't understand what it is exactly they're saying. There's clarity is very difficult with many times, most of, types of hearing loss. You're turning up the volume on the TV or radio. Others are telling you that they think it's too loud. You think everyone around you is mumbling. Well, really, it's you that has the issue, and words are coming in and getting mumbled in your ear. Large gatherings become very difficult.
Uh-oh. Yep, there we go.
When you're in large gatherings, all the ambient noise around you affects your ability to just talk to the person in front of you. So you start feeling left out when you're with groups of people, maybe a big table. It's very difficult to feel a part of what everybody is saying. And then again, as a result, you start not socializing and isolating yourself, and you find excuses. And sometimes your friends and family, they get tired of those excuses and they stop asking you to join them if you don't tell them why and what the problem is. So you don't want to get into that isolation situation. Just real quickly before I go into the types of hearing loss, this is our ear. The outer ear, the pinna it's called, and the eardrum, those areas right up to the eardrum is called the outer ear. The middle ear is where you have these three tiny little bones that you learned about 50 years ago in biology class. We call them the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. Those are the formal Latin names. They're what helps push the sound into the hearing instrument, the cochlea here, which is the inner ear. So you can have temporary hearing loss. That's usually where the outer ear or the middle ear might get plugged with wax. Some people have real problems with wax buildup, and you can't clean it out yourself, even though we've all used Q-tips and other instruments over our life. But that can happen and cause your hearing to go away because it's so much wax in here. You have to go to the doctor. Fluid behind the eardrum, but that can be drained. That's temporary. Or you might have a hearing aid, but the filter here on the end could be clogged with dirt and wax, or this wire can be damaged. And you might think you're not hearing, but it's really because there's damage to the hearing aid. So those are all temporary. They can be fixed once you get to the audiologist or the doctor. Permanent, though, are the ones that we worry about. You cannot replace the 15,000 tiny little hearing cells, hairs they're called, that you were born with in each ear. As they start dying, they're done. Humans cannot regenerate. Certain animals and mammals do regenerate. They've tested them, and once they lose their hearing, within a day they've regenerated and those hairs have come back and those animals can hear again. They're trying to figure out why we can't do something like that, and they're working on it, but they've been working on it for at least 10 to 15 years. So the inner ear, things that can be permanent, if you were a child with a lot of ear infections, sometimes that could cause damage that affects you later on in life and leads to the inner ear damage. Ototoxic drugs, oto stands for of the ear, and toxic, we all know what that means. There are some chemotherapy drugs out there that people take that are common, unfortunately, that can damage hair cells. So you have to talk to your doctor if you're one of those getting chemotherapy. Job-related, very common. If you worked with machines all your life back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s without hearing plugs or something to help block it, there are more and more rock and roll stars from those years that are now addressing serious hearing loss. Our poor veterans that go overseas and are surrounded by bombs and guns, even though they're wearing, supposedly, they're supposed to be wearing hearing plugs, but not always, especially the older wars. The veterans' #1 disability is hearing loss with tinnitus, unfortunately. They're all coming back with that. 2.7 million, I think I have that number later on, veterans that have some form of hearing loss and tinnitus. We even have a chapter that's it's an online chapter just for veterans, where they get together once a month and talk about various issues, veterans with hearing loss. That's how common it has become. And then presbycusis is just a fancy name for aging. As you age, those hairs just start dying on their own, which is why they say 1 out of 3 people over 65 have some form of hearing loss. You didn't do anything wrong, it's just the aging process. Some other causes of the inner ear permanent damage: diabetes and high blood pressure, if they're not addressed, can interfere with the ear's blood supply, and that can cause hearing loss. Otosclerosis, sclerosis of the hearing bones, that was my disease, very rare, less than 5%, but it's a bone disease of the middle ear, and then it affects all the hairs as well. They die quicker than they should. And then something called Meniere's disease, not very common, but it affects the inner ear, but it also causes not just hearing loss, but severe vertigo. That's where you think the walls are all swirling around you and you fall down. It can be very, very serious if you get Meniere's disease, and again, not able to reverse it. So those are some of the causes of hearing loss. But it's not the end of the world, because there's a lot of coping skills, and the technology nowadays is phenomenal, as we'll talk about in a second. So there's a lot of coping skills that you can address and use to help you out. One thing I always have to remind people is these coping skills that we have to learn, we also have to educate our friends and family, our loved ones. The Mayo Clinic put this quote out: when someone in a family has hearing loss, everyone in that family lives with hearing loss. It really is tough, as I will vouch for. So everything I talk about here, you really want to address with family and friends as well. So we talk about our toolbox, the things that you want to, like keeping it in your purse, you can pull out when you're in a different situation. So hearing aids, cochlear implant, they help with loudness primarily. What you need to worry about is the clarity. And for that, you're going to need either assistive listening devices like this microphone, or captioning of some sort, where you can be reading what people are saying if you can't hear everything. Time delay. So the toolbox is going to be different depending on your level of hearing loss. First thing to do, obviously, is get your hearing checked. So when somebody tells you they think you might have hearing loss because they're around you a lot, you got to get it checked. That's really the first step, because if you don't know what level of loss you have, you don't know what the right equipment is that you might need. And then you got to buy the hearing aids, but more importantly, you have to wear them, because as we said earlier, you have to train your brain. And if you're just going to wear them for an hour, take them out, we'll put them back in later for an hour, your brain's getting confused and it's not really getting trained. So you need to wear it all day long for the most part. Obviously, if you go to a shower or in the pool or something, you're going to take them out. But your brain needs to have that constant source to adapt to the sound that's coming in. I've been training my brain like I was born since a year ago when I got this implant, because they go inside my head and they put this implant right here that's got electrodes going through my cochlea, and they basically killed whatever little hearing I had left. So I was starting at ground zero again a year ago and had to gradually train, I'm still doing it, by listening to podcasts and books on tape that go directly in here so my brain could hear again. Because what you get with a cochlear implant is everybody sounds like Mickey Mouse or a robot when you first get it in. So now people are sounding like real people. So it's training the brain, whether you're just getting your first hearing aid or like me, where I had to take it back to deafness and now I'm retraining it again. And you want to wear them most of the day. And if you live by yourself, you might want to wear one at night. If it's charged and has a battery in it, wear one at night so you can hear fire alarms, smoke alarms, whatever. So it all depends on your situation. Oops, didn't change it. So the number one thing that's going to help you be happier in life, socialize, whatever, is learning communication skills and then educating everybody around you, your closest people, on how to best communicate with you, because you're going to figure it out. And we have some great little lists over here, handouts that you can take for that. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to want to get what we call ALDs, assistive listening devices. And we'll talk about several of those. That's why I keep showing you my microphone that I use all the time. And as well as using captioning. People don't think of captioning, but that is an assistive listening device, even though it's not a device, but there's captioning on a lot of different, from a lot of different sources. First thing I talked about earlier, or I'm sorry, about don't forget, this is the second thing that you don't want to forget. I should have printed, I wish I would have printed a bunch of these. It's called the 3 Golden Rules. And there's a lot more things that are on our list over here of communication skills to learn. But if you can just get everybody to do these 3 things, get your attention before starting to speak. Direct sound is the best thing that somebody with hearing loss can have. Speaking around the corner, through the wall, backwards, doesn't work. Direct sound is what you need to have. So the first thing is get their attention. Or tell this to your partner and friends to get your attention. All you got to do is say, "Hey Mike," and pause for a couple seconds. Or if they're right near you, maybe they just tap you on the shoulder if they're behind you. Get your attention. They shouldn't start talking until, number 2, you're facing each other. Okay? Get their attention, pause, face. And ideally, this says 6 feet. I use 10, but it's got to be relatively close. You don't want to be 15 feet, because the further away you are, that direct sound is getting stretched out and not as much clarity is reaching your hearing aids. So absolutely important to have at least these 3. There's another 10 or 15 on that little bookmark card over here if you want to take it with you. Other things to do to help with conversation is all about, as maybe if any of you were in real estate, location, location, location is also extremely important for us. If you go to a church, if you're going to listen to a speaker, sit relatively close. Especially if you also have your microphone, you might pick up even more. When I go to church now, I used to hide in the back. I'm now down in row 1 and 2. So I can pick up right in front of where the speakers are. Maybe not where the priest is, because he says speaking into a microphone, but I find where the speakers are and get close to those. Same with something like this. If this was a bigger auditorium and it didn't have any kind of other hearing assistance. Going out to restaurants, which we all want to do, or go out and socialize. Ideally, when you go to a restaurant, making reservations, ask them if they have a table up against a wall or in a corner. And you want to be sitting in that corner or up against the wall. Why? That way there's no other ambient noise behind you interfering with you talking to the 3 or 4 people at your table. You want to listen to the 3 or 4 people that are the closest to you. And if you're out in the middle of a restaurant, your ears are going to get bombarded, especially nowadays. Restaurants think it's best to have it very loud. They don't have carpeting on the floor, which is a no-no for hearing. You want to go to a place that has carpeting on the floor. Low ceiling is good, but a lot of these places have real high ceilings. All the sound just goes all over the place. So ideally, you want to sit up against a wall. And we make a reservation, say, hey, we have somebody with hearing loss. We need to be up against a wall or in a corner table if you can. You want to be far away from the kitchen. A lot of these restaurants have open kitchens now. It was a hot thing 10 years ago with designers. Oh yeah, you want to have the kitchen open so everybody can look in and see their meal getting made? Not for us. You don't want to hear all that chopping and the knives and metal and everything else. You want to be far away from that. But you want to be close to any speakers when you go out. So there's a lot of things to think about, but it becomes secondhand with you and your hearing loss. The more you experience it. But you're always looking at your surroundings when you have bad hearing loss. It just becomes second nature. You definitely can't be shy. I'm always shy. I never like to put people out. I feel like I'm putting somebody out and asking them something, but you've got to be able to tell these people that you have hearing loss and this is what's best for me. Don't try to bluff it. You'll end up embarrassing yourself if you think you heard something and you respond to that, and then somebody looks at you crazy. He's like, what are you saying? And say, oh, okay. What did you say? Ask somebody to repeat or rephrase. Don't tell them to say the same thing again. Maybe if they repeat or rephrase it, it might make more sense to you as you pick things up. This is really important. You're going into surgery. Before they take away your hearing aids, make sure they get stuff in writing from the doctor, or just being in the doctor's office. Doctors love to have their back to you while they're looking at their computer typing in all these notes, and you're back here. Say, doctor, I'm back here. So I put this on my doctor's table so I can hear what he's saying, or I'll point it. If he is facing me, but he's over there, because he's wearing a mask, I'll point it to him or ask him to wear it. So you really can't be shy. You have to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself in a lot of different situations. I don't think there's anything else on this one. I think I've said most of these. Reverberation or echo, high ceilings are bad, competing background noise like the kitchen, and face masks. We all lived through that. That was one of the worst for those of us with hearing loss. But we found ways to do it. The worst thing was when you took your face mask off, many times your hearing aid flew off because it was hooked by the, so I went on to Etsy, that website where they design things, and they had special masks for people with hearing loss, where you would Velcro it behind your head so you didn't have to take off the mask and lose. I lost a hearing aid for 2 days before I found it. It was really neat. So people got creative. And some people still wear face masks. It's been around. Any questions on communication tips? Again, please take one of these cards, one of these. They're all about communications. Or my favorite, if any of you are Catholic, the 10 Commandments for the hearing impaired, which is just sort of a little funny way of talking about everything we've talked about already. Oops. All right, so now we're going to talk about the other important piece, which is the technology. If you're not technology savvy and you have, moderate, severe, profound hearing loss, You're going to need technology to survive, especially in noisy situations. So find somebody that can help you get it set up and teach you how to use the different technologies that are out there, because there's a lot. Somebody said to me it's a great time to have hearing loss because of all the technology that has now been built. And now they're coming out with that artificial intelligence that they're building into the captioning and the microphones and things like that. I mean, the microphones will be able to tell a certain person's voice. And if they think that you've talked to this person a lot, maybe my wife, it'll pick up that person's voice around the table instead of maybe somebody else's voice. That's how good it's getting. So let's talk about several of these ALDs. This myth is out there, and it's still out there. I've heard it so many times. People think that, oh, you have hearing aids, how come you can't understand what I'm saying? You know, they think that because glasses take care of vision and make it 20/20 again, that hearing aids will take you back to what you had when you were 10 years old. Doesn't work that way for hearing. There is no such thing as 20/20 hearing. You'll never be the same. You have to accept that, but you can live well, and if you have the right accommodations. We talked earlier, amplification is okay. That's what the hearing aid brings, but if you don't have the clarity, you're going to struggle, especially when there's a little bit of noise in the room or in the area. So the hearing instruments by themselves will not be enough. So the number one assistive listening device is your smartphone. It's amazing what is now being put into here. Apple and Android have both gotten very heavily into accessibility options. Not just for hearing loss, they have vision things and tactile stuff that they've built into their settings. So if and when you get your hearing aids, your audiologist will download or help you download the specific app for I have a Phonak hearing aid, somebody else might have Oticon or a different brand. They all have their own app that you can download on your phone, and it can control what your hearing aid is going to be picking up. If you're in a noisy room, there's a little program on my app that I can hit, and it'll dampen that noise around me so that I'm only hearing people in front of me. This can do the same thing. So your audiologist will help you with that. Bluetooth, you're all familiar with Bluetooth streaming. Bluetooth is how we wirelessly I can listen to, as my phone rings, it goes right into my hearing aid because it's connected by this thing called Bluetooth. When it rings, I just tap it, or I just tap the button on my hearing aid, and the person is talking directly into my ear. Doesn't matter that there's other noise out here, I can hear directly into my ear what they're saying to me, even with other things going on around me. Bluetooth is phenomenal, and the next level of Bluetooth is coming out somewhere in the next couple. It's coming out already, but it'll be out in a couple more years, called Broadcast. I'm not going to go into that. So I can Bluetooth wirelessly the TV directly to my hearing aid. I can hear that TV being talked right into my hearing aid, all the new TVs. Zoom, my cell phone, microphones. There are so many things that go through your phone and then into your hearing aid if you have one of the smartphones. If you just have a real cheap, I don't know, consumer cellular or something else, maybe, maybe not, depends on how advanced it is. But it's phenomenal what you can get to go directly into your ear. And nothing better than hearing something directly in here and not have to come through all the noise that's in the room to try to get it to be clear. Captioning apps are phenomenal, and the good news is the younger generation loves them too. So you're seeing them a lot more on YouTube, TV, Netflix, you name it. Things are all getting captioned these days. Some people say, oh, I don't want that cutting across my screen. All right, you can turn it off for them, but it's phenomenal. The theater, live theater you can get, as well as regular movies. They have open caption at the bottom of the screen. They also have caption glasses, which is closed caption, that only you can see the words being spoken. Everybody else in the theater doesn't have to see it. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for captioning. And phone call captioning. So, next screen. I'm going to go to these two first. Apple and Android, the two biggest sellers of iPhones, they now include on their phone, when you buy them, all the last several generations. Apple has something called live caption that's under the settings, and then under accessibility in settings, under hearing. They have a whole hearing section. Android has something called live transcribe. It's been around a little bit longer than the Apple. Is considered the best captioning program out there by many people, but this one is pretty darn good. I have an Apple, and I was talking to my old boss the other day, who's got a mumbly, tough voice. He's 86, and I was having trouble hearing everything, even though it was going directly into my ear. So I opened up my caption app on my Apple phone, and you can also, while somebody's talking to you on the phone, you can have the caption going right across the screen here of what that person was saying. So if I was struggling to hear him say something, I could just look down to my phone and see what I might have missed. So it's phenomenal what possibilities are out there if you have one of these two. Have somebody help you figure out how to use it. It's not picking up my voice. Oh well. And there's also some that you can download out there. Ava and Otter are the two most popular. The good news about them, you can get a paid version that if you're still maybe working or in meetings a lot and you want to keep track of the minutes of what was said or what people were saying in the meeting, for the paid version, you can have an unlimited amount of captions that they'll store for you that you can go back and look at, write up the minutes. And also they break it up by person's names, they break it up as the voice changes. So sometimes it's worth getting that, but these two are phenomenal by themselves if you don't want to spend the money. And then there's also, just like I used my Apple captioning on the phone call the other night, you can also use one of these cell phone captioning apps that are free to you. They're paid for by the FCC. You can get these and have it put on your phone and be able to, once somebody calls you and you answer it, it starts captioning the whole conversation. It's no different than some of you maybe have seen these kind of caption phones. A lot of senior citizens have them. It's the same concept. It's actually some of the same companies. They've now also gone into the cell phone captioning. And you don't pay a thing because all these years on your Verizon phone bill or whoever you have been paying, there's this tiny little tax or fee at the bottom that nobody ever reads. Maybe it's $1.50 every single month. Well, that adds up over 50 years of using phones, right? All that money has been going into a pot at the FCC, and they pay the companies that provide you with these caption phones, the senior citizens that need it. The only thing you need is a letter from your audiologist that says you have hearing loss. So this is the landline version you can get in your house. I think you can get up to 2, I think I heard. 2 free ones in your house if you want them. And those are the biggest names. They're actually the only 3 names I think that provide them: Caption Call, Hamilton CapTel, and Clear Captions. So they're good for inside your house. Future communication resources, the Apple Watch is going to keep getting more and more stuff on it that's going to be able to help you. It helps me right now because if I have the phone, my phone and my watch are connected. If the phone's in the other room, but it starts ringing, I hear it ringing in my ear, but this starts vibrating and it actually tells me who's calling. If I don't want to talk to the person, turn it off, right? Could be a spam call, whatever. I turn it off. Or if it's something important, I rush to get my phone and just pick it up and start talking. So the watch is already doing a lot of good things. It's got several medical apps that are built into it, the Apple Watch, and I guess the other ones do too. I just lose my, oh, here it is. Oh, this is the most exciting to me at least. Caption glasses are already out there. They're starting to sell them this past year. They're expensive though, unfortunately, the first versions. And what they are is, you can send them your prescription and they can provide me with glasses that look probably more like yours. They don't give me wireframes like yours. And if you're within, I don't know the exact distance, I think it might be 6 to 10 feet of somebody talking, you get captions of what that person's saying. Right in front of you on your lens. And right now, like I said, it's very expensive, but it's the future. It's part of the future.
I was just offered caption glasses last week.
Where?
A place called Lens Crafters.
Lens Crafters?
Yes.
They're selling them?
They are 50% off if anybody's eager.
Depends on what it's 50% off of.
$1,200, but that's my regular prescription is about $700 because I have triple view. I happen to I worked in museums.
I want to go check it out. Which Lens Crafter? Where were you? King of Prussia or
Chicago?
Too far to go and check out.
Yeah, but
no, I'm going to check out. I didn't realize that.
I'm sure they will have them here.
Yeah.
And I am so happy to have the opportunity to check this out with someone who obviously knows about 1,000% more than I do about any of this. But do they also provide enhanced hearing?
That is a separate kind of glass that's out there now. There's 2 types of glasses that have come out in the last year or so.
Oh.
One has microphones like right here, and as you're talking to somebody, it's picking up that sound and amplifying it into your ears. That's one type. These are for people that already have hearing aids, but they struggle because they have the type of hearing loss called sensorineural, which means we really struggle speech and noise hearing. And these that I'm talking about are newer, and they have the microphones picking up the sound, and it's doing it through artificial intelligence, translating it immediately on the screen in front of you. And they will do foreign languages. So if you're going over to Spain, you can get it in Spanish. If you're going to France, you can get it in French. Not that I need that, I just need
Well,
us,
thank
right?
you.
Yeah, but thank you for telling me that. I checked them out at the Hearing Loss Convention this summer. I forget the brand, Captify was the brand I looked at, but there's about 6 or 7. They're all different in their pricing. Some have a low price, but you pay a monthly fee. Others, you just pay a couple $1,000. So they're all, it's brand new, very early stage.
My regular glasses would cost about $700, so it's $500 more.
Because of your prescription you have it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then if I get 50% off of that, I'm rolling it back to $600. I'm willing
Yeah.
to see if I
Might
can.
be worth it, yeah, to pick.
Yeah, who will help out? Insurance in addition. running it around.
Well, good, I even learned something tonight. I'm gonna go to Land's Crafters this weekend and see what they're offering, what brand it is. That's good to know. Where are we here? Anyway, that's the future. The future is actually here now, but it's just early stage. If you're not an early, innovator, don't want to take a chance yet, wait, it'll come down in price. And then the final stuff is the microphones. I don't want to, what do we have, 7:30? Okay. Microphones are absolutely important. I rely on my Roger, it's called Roger, phone. These are called remote microphones. I can put this microphone on Mark to wear, and if he wants to talk to me, this is going through Bluetooth directly into my hearing aid. So it's like he's talking right into my hearing aid, right over all of your heads, even if you're having little conversations there. These microphones are phenomenal because you want to bring those voices closer to your ear as much as possible. And by giving him this microphone to speak in, it's like putting him right here next to me, talking into my ear. So there's 3 types. The one on the left is the one I have, Roger phone, made by Phonak. It's called a multi-purpose mic because I can use it to point. When I go out to dinner to a loud sports bar with my wife and my daughter, very loud, sports is on, Eagles game's on, people are talking and drinking. But if I point this right at my wife or right at my daughter, that's all I'm picking, not all, but I can hear them talking across the table. If I lay it on the table, it'll pick up all the people and all the games. I don't want to do that. When you want to lay it on the table is if I was in a board meeting. I'm on a board of Easttown Library, and we have a meeting once a month, 12 people, sitting in a rectangular type of thing. I put a chair out in the middle of all the tables. I lay this right on the chair, and it picks up, when you lay it down, it picks up 100 or 360-degree sound from everybody. So since usually it's a pretty mature audience and we're not all talking at the same time, I can pick up the person at the far end over there by having the microphone out here in the middle. It picks up, I think it's 15 to 20 meters, something like that. So that's the multi-purpose. They can do more than just one thing. The partner mic, the middle one, is smaller. That's exactly what the word, it does exactly what the word means. That's what you would give to your partner in the car. You're driving, you give that to your partner next to you, and that way you don't have to be turning and listening. What'd you say? What'd you say? Right? If they're talking into that little thing and they put it right here, it's just going right into your ear. Same thing as Mark speaking into this back there. It goes right into your ear for one-on-one conversations. And then there's the table mic, which this is sort of a table mic and a partner mic together, multi-mic. These are just for a table to pick up sounds all the way around it. It's 25 meters from the speaker, okay. So the partner mic, one-to-one, wear it with a lanyard or clip-on. I give it to my yoga instructor because she speaks in such a soft voice in the yoga room, but I want to hear her. I want to know what she's saying. She wears it right here. Ask the doctor or the nurse to wear it if they're coming in to talk to you for various things. I know people that have given it to tour guides when they go overseas or go somewhere where they're taking tours. Ask the tour guide to put it right here. So the tour guide might have their microphone, which everybody else might hear, but not you. But by having this right here, you're getting what they're saying directly into your ear. So these microphones are phenomenal. And that's the multi-purpose one that I talked about already. So in summary, the communication rules that we talked about, at a minimum, those 3 that I gave you earlier, but there's a lot more here. Use technology, and it's only getting better, and use captions. And I don't want to leave without at least talking about safety, because it's something people forget about at times. There are alarm clocks that are very loud. I have one called the Sonic Boom, and it is loud. It is loud, but it also has a little thing that you put under your pillow that vibrates. Maybe you're a deep, deep sleeper and you take your hearing aids out at night. It also vibrates when the alarm goes off. And maybe you'll feel that because your hand's under there or your head's... So that's great. There's doorbell alerts and cameras that you probably, many people have cameras nowadays. Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Some, and I think I got a picture on here. Yeah, this is a multi, it has all three of those things. Smoke alarm, carbon monoxide, and can wake you up, the alarm. So there's all types out there. There's a company called DIGLO, Diglo. That's where everybody who's got some kind of disability goes to buy their technology if they don't find it on Amazon or eBay. Oh, here's one of the glasses that you were talking. They've already got the glasses in here. But you can't forget the safety stuff. That's very, very important. Again, especially if you live by yourself or one other person. Maybe you both have hearing issues. But there's a lot of options out there that you can get depending on what you want. And then the last one is medical. I just talked to a woman yesterday, Kay Tyberg. Her husband works for Caption Call. She's deaf, she signs, she has everything. And her husband got lost. He was traveling. For 11 hours, nobody could track him. He had an aneurysm or something in New York State, fell down in a parking lot. Somebody found him, they couldn't get into his phone, didn't know who to call. Took him to a hospital in White Plains, New York. They figured out somehow to call her and got her number. She went to the hospital and she said it was the worst experience ever. Here she is, she signs like somebody who's been deaf since birth, but she also can talk and uses technology like me. She taught me a lot of the technology. And she said, you know, these doctors, unfortunately, the majority of them, not criticizing, but they have accents, and that's hard for us with an accent. They don't use technology. They didn't appreciate somebody with serious hearing loss. The husband has a little bit of hearing loss, but he was like out of it. He couldn't, I don't know if he has come out of it yet. But anyway, you want to be prepared. If you have hearing loss, be prepared when you go to a hospital, and prepare what's called a go bag that has all the things you might need. If you're going to be in there for a few days and you have hearing loss, put this up on the back of your bed so anybody coming in to talk to you knows, get my attention and face me. You want a nice bright color. Yellow and pink are the two that I've seen. A lot of our chapters make these up for people. It's also got a few other things in here. You can wear a button like this. Please face me and speak clearly. Thank you. For surgeries, again, they're going to take your hearing aids out most likely. If you get an MRI. So have a bright pin or label, okay, like this, or have something like that. And bring your phone with captioning on it or old-fashioned pen and paper, because it is difficult in hospital environments, just like it is in doctor offices. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of machines operating in that operating room, and you know, you've got to be able to obviously, when he says, all right, we're working on your right knee, right? No, left knee. And you know, you got to hear everything. So it's very important to be prepared. If you don't want, you know, especially if it's an emergency, you want to have that thing ready to go, or tell somebody, hey, get my bag that has all my hearing aid batteries or my charger or whatever, and make sure they bring it. So you can live well with hearing loss if you have the right tools in your toolbox. There's a lot of stuff out there. You just have to ask for it and advocate for yourself. Anybody have any specific questions that we didn't cover? Do not hesitate to, if you think of something later, or you're talking to somebody that you know that has hearing loss and they have questions, to contact us. Steve has the card here with our information for our chapter that he and I monitor.
I don't know if there's questions online.
Nothing in the chat. Anybody on Zoom have a question? Feel free to unmute, or you can type in the chat.
Did a good job.
Okay.
There were people who were on
That
there.
phone app, is that?
Well, thank you very much, Mike. That was great.
Bravo.